Hi, it's Dr. Dina, innovator of women's health and wellness, and I'm here at the Halifax City Hall in Nova Scotia at our Freedom event. Yay! We have about 20 people here today, so it's almost double what we had last week, so it's growing slowly but surely. And I thought I would do what we did last week. Hi, Charlene. Can you hear me? I'm on the new speaker this week. Cable Frank, someone give me a thumbs up if the volume's okay. We're here at Halifax City Hall, and again, we're going to be talking with some of the peaceful demonstrators here who all share, friends who all share values of freedom, justice, and truth. Thanks. I got a heart, so I guess you can hear me okay. Hi, Matthew. Hi, Danielle. And, this. We're talking about lockdown, really, and why we're locked in our homes. There's a lot of different theories around that maybe I'll sort of sum up at the end. But what we're grateful for grows, so we're here celebrating, again, our freedoms, our right to truth, justice, our freedom of choice. And we're just going to go around and talk to some other people that are here, and they'll tell us, what truth and justice means to them. So I'm going to pass the mic over to our first guest, which is Diane. Just one moment. Okay, Diane.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. It's nice and sunny down here. It's too bad that some of you haven't come down, but maybe next week. So my reason for being here is I'm an advocate for informed consent and choice. So any of the issues like forced vaccinations, tattoos, chips, I feel that the person owns their own body and they should have the right to say whether or not they are going to use this technology. So I'm also promoting no smart meters on my home because, again, we're talking about radiation, and when they put those meters on your home, then you cease to have a choice. So to me, I think that it's very important that neither the government nor the corporations tell you what you can and cannot do, or tell you what you must take or must put on your own private property. So as far as I'm concerned, it's my house, my body, my choice. And I'm willing to do what it has to take to promote and protect that right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane. Okay, now we're going to move on. Great. We're going to move on to Michael McDonald, if I can find him. So here we are outside of Halifax City Hall. We don't have any police escorts this week, so, but here's all the people. We are going to do a group song after, maybe, like Oh Canada. And here we have Michael. Michael, I'm going to pass the mic over to you, but could you tell us a little bit about why you're here and when your freedoms and rights you felt were being infringed upon?
Well, I'm here because I spent my entire life involved in politics, campaigning for local politicians, federal, provincial, municipal. So at 12 years old, I was very aware of politics and my country, and I took it very serious. I've worked in over probably 25 elections in this country, and I am a liberal, and I've worked for all of them. I've worked for Mr. Chrétien, I've worked for Mr. Martin, I supported Iggy, I've worked for the mayor of the city, the premier. I'm a liberal, and I'm concerned. Because I'm more concerned this country is more connected and aligned with China and not America. And I'm here to tell you that Mr. Trump is on the right road, and we need America more than we need China. And it's being a liberal and standing here and knowing that the other liberals are going to see me talking about them, that proves to you how serious I am. And if I'm concerned and I'm a liberal and I'm standing in my city hall and I don't see anybody around here that's a liberal that's at this convention, at this meeting, well, I'm here and I'm telling you liberals, get up off your ass.
Michael,
Right?
That's good, but when did you first notice, we're live now, live on Facebook, when did you first notice that our freedoms were being infringed upon?
Well, it started with Barack Obama when he gave $150 billion to Iran and didn't give any money to the American black population for reparation of slavery. He was supposed to be the big hope. They gave him a Nobel Peace Prize for winning the election. Well, I'll tell you what, they should give Donald Trump every other peace prize from now on for the history of the world. There's not a man that can stand in front of a microphone and address the world and tell CNN to pound sand because they're no good. And here's another message for you people. CTV, CBC, Global, and in this city, the Halifax Herald, the city of freedom of the press was established by Joseph Howe. This city does not have a newspaper. We have no guide. We have no leaders. The newspaper industry is supposed to save us and help us. Here is the city of Joe Howe, the foundation of freedom of the press. In this newspaper city, this is the most important newspaper city in North America. We don't even have a newspaper. We don't have any guidance. I think we're being forgotten about.
Good. Thanks, Michael. Okay. And thank you for that.
My pleasure.
In fact, I did invite CBC and CTV, Bruce Frisco, down to our peaceful demonstration today, but they haven't arrived yet. Okay, so we are here. Let's see who's next. Linda, are you ready to be interviewed? We're Facebook Live now. Yeah, can we do it here? Maybe move over here just so we're away from the crowd. And this is a microphone. If you can hold it kind of up to your mouth. Okay. And I just ask first, when you first noticed that your freedoms and rights were being infringed upon, like why are you here?
Well, Dina, I guess I've taken a great interest in vaccines and vaccine safety over the years as a kindergarten teacher and then as a classroom teacher and later as literacy support and reading recovery teacher. I had the opportunity to work with many children with many different challenges over the years. They seem to grow exponentially. I don't see where we have any clear path in sight to help reverse the trend. It's only going to get worse. And I've been working to try to convince governments in New Brunswick to build a world-class education system that's far superior to what we have now. And I had a very typical working relationship, I guess, with the government, Mr. Higgs and Mr. Cardy, and to do just that, to try to fix some of the very systemic problems. And when Mr. Cardy decided he was going to make vaccines mandatory for all school-age and daycare children, it startled me. It startled me because I had done thousands probably of hours of research in vaccine safety and wondering where autism was coming from and why we had so many children's pictures around our classrooms showing diabetes and anaphylactic shocks from different allergies and so I found a way that, because I'm a researcher, because that's my forte, I guess, if I have one, I started investigating, and what's happening with the vaccine childhood schedule is scary. It's downright scary because it's damaging. And that's not a conspiracy theory. It is damaging. You just need to look at any of the vaccine monographs and you will see why that's true, because they list them. They've seen them. They recognize them. So we have accumulation of a whole lot of mess in our classrooms. And I just like the MLAs of New Brunswick to please shoot this Bill 11 down, because the thing that keeps me awake right now with this coronavirus, the vaccine bill that you're putting forth, this is the worst time you could be voting on that, because if we have a new coronavirus vaccine ready next September 21st, ready, I mean that WHO or Canada, Health Canada approves, Mr. Cardy can be vaccinating our children with a new experimental vaccine legally, and parents are going to be just signing over their rights to him, and that can't happen. So I'm here today to help people understand that this isn't just a routine bill that he's putting through. This is a very egregious bill. It's against our constitutional rights of free choice and freedoms, and people need to say no.
Thank you. That's amazing. And what surprises me is that Minister Dominic Cardy is the Minister of Education. So how the education minister can put through a bill that, a public health bill, and have everybody follow it is a little bizarre, isn't it?
I was so excited when he became Minister of Education. I thought he was going to build a world-class education system, as promised. As it turns out, he took his entire Department of Education portfolio and turned it into a direction that is unhealthy and unsafe for our children.
Thank you. I really appreciate you speaking out. Okay, let's see who else is here that wants to speak. Well, our entertainment section. No? What happened, Betty Lou? I was just going to put you on like our entertainment section. We needed kind of like an intermission. Okay. Okay, maybe we'll speak with Anastasia next. Can I see your sign here? Quarantine is more deadly than COVID-19, and that has been, well pointed out with different science and also medical researchers. Dr. Imad Gugus in Ontario has a YouTube video about that, how the lockdown is actually causing more problems. Defund the WHO. Well, we know President Trump has defunded the World Health Organization, and the arrest of Bill Gates. Well, I guess that's still on the agenda. And My Body, My Choice, no mandatory vaccines. I love it. So if you wanted to lay down your sign for a moment, maybe you can hold the microphone.
Okay.
And if you could tell us why you're here, and maybe when you first noticed that your freedoms and rights were being infringed upon.
Okay. I think I've had several moments of when it's kind of gradual steps, but I think the first big one would be when I heard Justin Trudeau speak on the television, actually not television, on the internet, telling everyone that we wouldn't get back to normal until a vaccine arrived on the scene. And I knew right then and there that this wasn't going in a direction I was comfortable with. And so I have lots of issues about mandatory vaccination for myself and my children, and how that will impact their schooling and how it will impact my employment, if I have to watch them a lot at home and school them. I'm very concerned about the economy. People's businesses are being radically affected by this forced quarantine of the general populace. So those are some of the things that I'm concerned about, but there's plenty more. How much more do you want me to talk about?
I think everybody has kind of a different reason for being here. We've heard some people speak already, but would you say then that the forced vaccination and the lockdown are, the most concerning things to you?
Yeah, well, I am concerned about the forced vaccination, but I'm also just concerned about people's ability to... We're not looking at the impacts that isolating people like this has on so many levels of our health and well-being. So there's people who are struggling with mental health issues, and there's lots of suicide happening, and those are deaths. We're looking at people not being allowed to see their loved ones when they're dying, not just from COVID, from any disease. There's just so many health ramifications. Children's health and well-being, their mental state when they're not allowed to play with their friends is very detrimental. These are going to have long-lasting effects on our society as a whole, and we're not factoring that into these decisions. And I've written the politicians, I've written the health minister, I've written the federal representatives, asking them, my local, just where I live, are you taking all these factors into consideration? And many have not even replied, and others are just passing the buck on to the next guy. So no one is asking the important questions. When you watch the legislature, no one's asking the important questions. They're just doing damage control about money. And we do need to worry about the economy, but just handing out money to people and forcing them to stay home is not the answer. Thank you.
Awesome. That was great. That was great. And I think, that's why I'm here too, is that I've already written the MLAs and the MPs, and I've already went through my government channels and my voice in government, and they haven't replied. So when the call doesn't come and they don't answer, we have to sort of speak and have our own voice.
Happening here, and we need to pay attention.
Yeah, great.
So I hope more people come next Saturday, 12 o'clock, City Hall, Halifax.
Thank you. That was great. And I have a few more people. Let's see. There was someone else that wanted to speak. Faye, yeah, okay, great. Could I see your sign, Faye? Our ancestors fought for our freedom. Is there something on the other side, too? Locking down for a flu is against our Constitution. I love it. So, Faye, we're on Facebook Live right now. And when did you first notice that your rights and freedoms were being infringed upon? Like, why are you here?
Well, I knew the world's was when they killed John F. Kennedy.
Do you want to hold the mic just in
Sure.
front there so you
Sure.
hear you? Yeah.
Yeah, I knew when they killed John F. Kennedy that there was something amiss, and I was only very young then. But I've always been a seeker of truth, and I've always gone against the grade because the other way seemed too easy. Like too many people were just willing to accept what they were being told, and nobody was studying anything or looking into anything. And there's always two sides to a coin, and nobody ever wanted to see the other side of the coin. And then it really sunk in when there was the who was the other gentleman there for freedom that was murdered? Martin Luther King Jr. When that happened, then I really knew that things were amiss. And I wasn't so much into the politics in the States as I am now, but even in my own country, there was just too much corruption going on and nobody being accounted for it. And I know now I watch when they're in the House now, and no one in the Liberals have ever given a yes-no answer to any questions, whether it be finance, health, whatever. And I know in 1947, after the war was over, because of all the atrocities Hitler had done, that there is a code now, it's a law, that they cannot vaccinate us. They cannot put, how it reads really, is that they cannot put anything in our blood against our will. And that's as far as I've got with it.
Well, that's far. Thank you. Thanks so much for those comments. I just, I remember John F. Kennedy, there's a speech, a quote, and it is that there's a plot in place to enslave every man, woman, and child on the planet. Before I leave this high and noble office, I intend to expose it. And that was his speech 7 days before he was assassinated.
That's what I was just going to say. I remember that. I didn't remember its song and word for word, but I did remember, and yes, he was killed shortly thereafter. That's why he wasn't supposed to be in a convertible. That was a last-minute thing by the CIA. Yeah.
So it goes really deep, our freedoms, doesn't it? Thank you for speaking, Faye. Okay, so I don't know if there's anyone else here that wants to speak. Let me see. Did you want to speak? Yeah, you want to speak? Okay, so it's Facebook Live, and we have you hold the camera, the microphone there, so we can hear you. Maybe. There you go. Maybe I'll just speak. Okay, go ahead.
Let me just hold.
Tell us
How's that?
why you're here. That's
Can you hear that?
I think so. Can you hear that? I think they can.
Okay.
So tell us why you're here.
Why I'm here? I'm here because I'm concerned about the direction our country is going. I'm a small business owner, and to hear about what is being done to the local businesses, right across the country, being destroyed, and 40 to 50% will never open again. I've been very fortunate. I'm just a one-man show, and I've been putting myself in a position where I'm doing okay, but a lot aren't. And I'm really concerned about what's going on, and we need to stand up. And with this lockdown, and it's really concerning me that the misinformation that's put out there, a lot of us aren't getting the right information that we need. We're being lied to in a lot of ways, and the information needs to get out, and people need to stand up and stick up for one another. How's that?
That's lovely. Thank you. That's great. Thanks for coming out. Are you coming back next week?
Yeah.
Next Saturday, 12 noon, same place, same time?
That's right, yeah.
We'll have more next week. Every week it's growing, right? Every week it's growing.
We had 12 last week, now we get 16 or something.
I think there's 20, over 20, so it's growing slowly. Thanks again. So let me just turn this. I'll give you a view of where we are. So this is in the square here, and there was graffiti that was wrote on the square before we got here today. So we didn't do this. For the record, this wasn't the peaceful protesters. This was somebody that was here before us, because we wouldn't write something that says vaccines save lives. We would not write that. Nor would we be, thanking Dr. Strang for this corona, whole scam. Strang, S-T-R-A-N-G, yeah. And then it says, masks. It talks about masks and spreading germs and all sorts of things. Let's see what else they have over here. Vaccine save lives seems to be something they like to repeat. This is written in chalk, so it's not painted, but, it is graffiti. And I just want to make a point that we didn't do it. Let's see what this one says. I won't counter protest in person because pandemic, but know that you would be drowned out with all the yelling of all the facts, apparently. These, I'm not sure what this says. These drawings, maybe, would have been signs if you weren't afraid to come out of your house, maybe? I don't know. Okay, enough with that. But you can see the whole square is littered with this chalk in preparation, I guess, of our protest. So I'll turn it around here, and you can see we're small in numbers, but truly they're a passionate group of people, all here with different ideas, and situations of what freedom means to them. Some are educators, some have been in politics, some have been in media. You heard the people that we interviewed this morning. So it's again an impassioned, empowered, enthusiastic group of people that are here, and we'd love to have you come out. Our media is not here, so this is going to be your media coverage of the event of celebrating our freedoms in Halifax, Nova Scotia. The media is persuaded and owned by big companies. And you will understand that because, and know that, because you probably don't know that the Queen has been charged with treason, the Queen of England, and that we have a new king. True. But your media will not tell you that. So if you were to Google, or actually Google was bought out by a pharmaceutical company, so if you use the browser, Brave browser, and use DuckDuckGo as your search engine, and search up, get this name, Joseph Gregory Hallett, Hallett, is our new king. So Queen Elizabeth has been evicted from the Buckingham Palace. And Justin Trudeau is on home arrest because he's sort of connected with that bigger group and has been charged with treason. If you need any information on that, please connect with me. But the bottom line in sharing that information is that there's a lot happening that you can't see above and below the earth. There's wars and secrets that are happening right now. And I do think that this lockdown has been beneficial as it's given our world leaders time to kind of clean out swamps and clean out these deep military underground bases that have been used for human experimentation and sex slavery and child sex slaves. So the lockdown has served us, and I think in a way has protected us and allowed this unfolding and allowed this evolution to happen. But the good news is, by us standing and holding space, and you can see, it's a peaceful protest in the background. People are standing around talking, sharing information, and just holding space, allowing for this evolution of our humanity to happen. And I used to think it was a grassroots movement, that it was just going to start from the bottom and work its way up. But clearly, with these new findings, with the new king and the arrests and subpoenaed and indictments of our world leaders who are into the cabal and corruption, is encouraging. It's encouraging to see our world being taken back and the World Health Organization being defunded. As I said, the World Health Organization had a mandate in 1973 to depopulate using vaccines. So they're not really the gold standard when it comes to health and healthcare. The CDC, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, is actually a vaccine company. It buys, $3-4 billion worth of vaccines a year. So if you don't know these facts, you have to research them. You won't find them on your local media. But thankfully, we have a group of people who are, coming together and leading with love and wisdom. Those people who wrote the graffiti, are still home in being led with fear and ignorance. So I would encourage you to come next week. We're here just peaceful demonstration with, I think I'm the only one wearing a Canada flag because it's a little cold, but we have signs, and we're here just, like I said, holding space for the transformation to happen. I don't know if you have any questions. I'm going to turn back and just show you my sign from yesterday. So the vaccine bill was passed by Ronald Reagan in 1986, and most of these vaccine companies are from the United States, or some made in China, of course. But the vaccine bill was to protect these vaccine companies against any liability, death, or disease. The Telecom Act, again in 1996, 2013, Obama passed the Monsanto Act, and this protects Monsanto against any liability, death, disease, injury from his genetically modified foods. Telecom Act protects the cellular companies, again, from being sued for any damages they cause with their new technologies, like the 5G technology. So government protects these companies. This is my sign. Who protects you? So I think what we'll do is I think I'll sign out if there's no more questions or comments. I just want to thank you for watching. I'd encourage you to come out next week and join us here holding space for this transformation to happen. No, good things are about to happen. Now that we have a solid light worker for a king, he is reorganizing structures like the Federal Reserve with world leaders like President Trump. And we're discovering new technologies, safer technologies like the 5G and 6G technologies that'll be put in place. Hopefully we'll have some sort of safety measures. We look forward to kind of free press and taking back our internet so we don't have YouTube channels being shut down and, important information being suspended. So you probably know my story, but that was my truth, is that I really seen some serious injuries with vaccines. And as a chiropractor for 20 years, I wasn't allowed to sort of share that information. It became, let's say, a couple of years ago, a new directive from the health department that I wasn't allowed to share these truths with patients. So I just couldn't stay in a practice and watch new mothers inject their children without feeling responsible in some way for not sharing the information, because silence gives consent. If you know that there's a crime or there's injury about to happen and you don't say anything, you're just as bad as the perpetrator, in my opinion. So when it became illegal for me to share these health truths with my patients, it's my oath as a doctor to do no harm. And I'm sorry, but sitting and watching kids get injected with chemicals that have no safety studies, no double-blind placebo-controlled safety studies, just wasn't in my soul, really. My power and authority doesn't go to some health department that is bought out by pharmaceutical companies. My authority comes from a higher source. And I would just encourage and thank the doctors and nurses that are speaking out now when they see injustices. Because we just need a few people out of the gate, to let the fearful know that it's okay. We're not going to get killed. And I know it's hard because many of the holistic doctors were who were researching vaccines and Naglase in particular, Naglase, and the connection to cancers, were killed and mysteriously disappeared. So right now, doctors are in a bit of a dilemma because if they're scared to speak, afraid for their lives and livelihoods because they can have their license suspended if they talk out against vaccines. So it's kind of a corrupt paradigm. But I would, again, take my hat off and to be really grateful for those who are speaking out and speaking up in all different disciplines, doctors and nurses and lawyers, when you're seeing an injustice. And I think today, even though there's a small group of people here, we're well representing kind of what the population is, coming from all different angles, but just knowing that freedom, truth, and justice is important. And if we don't, celebrate it and we're not grateful for that and hold space for it, we lose it. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you to all the people that are here who came out to support, this directive. We're going to be here every week at 12 o'clock noon at City Hall in Halifax. The police haven't been here. They were here escorting us last week to make sure we were safe. They haven't came this week. So it's just a beautiful day to be outside and to be speaking with like-minded and strong-hearted people. So I'm really grateful for that. Thank you for being here. Join us again next week here at 12 noon at City Hall, inviting you to reach for the stars, envision and achieve your personal best. And most of all, enjoy the journey. This is Dr. Dina Churchill signing out.